All right. Welcome, everyone. Apologize for the late start. Okay, I think I'm ready. Let's open up with the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll move into today's open discussion and review of chapter 8 in the Mystic Knowledge of the Soul text. Go back. Okay. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone to another open discussion in various topics class. As per usual, feel free to ask any questions or post any comments you may have in the chat. And if you are joining us via Zoom, you can also use the raise hand feature to ask your questions audibly, and we will do our best to answer those for you. In the second half of the class, or maybe start a little earlier, we will continue our review of the ancient language of the soul, the mystic knowledge of mantra, the first published book by our teacher, Mr. Nehemiah Davis. And as I have done, you can pick up a copy of the book on Amazon, and you can also take a look at our website, where you can see information about the text under new book sale link. We finished reading that book in our Friday study sessions, so you can actually go back to that playlist and listen to a reading of the book, as well as follow along. In today's, for the past two open discussions and today's open discussion, we've been looking at chapter 8. And as I was reviewing chapter 8 again, making some additional highlights and some notes and thinking about what points I wanted to go into, I think we'll finish chapter 8. I think last week I mentioned we'll spend this week and next week on chapter 8, but I think we should finish chapter 8 this week. Chapter 8 looks at the energy flows. And the last 2 weeks, we looked at cosmic, solar, and terrestrial energy flow. today we're going to look at the human level of the energy flow. I think we'll finish it today. I have a couple of handouts that I want us to review as we go through the highlights and bullet points of the human energy flow section. That section goes into detail about the nadi system. So I have a couple of handouts that give more information about the nadis and illustrate graphically information that's presented in the text. So we'll get to that later on. But do we have any questions or comments to begin today's open discussion? Also on Friday, we just finished chapters 3 and 4 of our review of the text. I'm drawing a blank. View of the text. The 14 lessons in Yogi Philosophy by Yogi Ramacharaka William Walker Atkinson. Specifically, we looked at the final principle, the spirit principle of the 7 principles of man. So you can go back and review that text, and you can also download a copy of the book for free on our website in the ebook library section. On the ebook library -1, there is a section at the very top dedicated to Yogi Ramacharaka William Walker Atkinson. You can download that text as well as all the other texts that we'll be going through in the study sessions. As you see on your screen, there is the page on our website. And right here, the second book is the 14 lessons. I think after I complete the 14 lessons, I may go back and do the science of breath and then move into the advanced course, because the science of breath was the first text. And then 14 lessons came afterward. If you're reading through the 14 lessons with us, you'll see that Yogi's science of breath is referenced in the 14 lessons. So I may go back and read that. Although it is good, we're doing the 14 lessons first. So when we go back and look at the science of breath, more information to be revealed and better for us to understand the text, information that is being presented. I think we'll go back and do the science of breath and then the advanced course. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We're still working through the 14 lessons, and we have a bit more to go in that reading. So welcome, everyone. Do we have any questions? All right, there are no questions yet. I want to review a handout before we jump into what? Before we jump into the human flow, I want us to look back at a handout that we reviewed. Yes, I know that I'm fixing that right now. Look back at a handout that we reviewed in an earlier open discussion. Oh, yes, if you have a question, please go ahead. Bring this closer so I can see. Va, can you expand on what you mean by ancestor money? Okay. I have a question here. What are your thoughts on ancestor money? So apparently it's burned to give to your ancestors from the other side in order to help you in this world.
I still don't understand. You mean that we burn the money?
Yeah, I think it's a ritual where I guess we offer money, or ritual or tribute where we give money to our ancestors by burning it in order for them to help us. And
So to my understanding, the ritual, the way you do that is not to you offer something of value, but don't destroy it. You offer something of value and you let it sit there for a time. Then after that time has passed, you take that and you do something good with it. That's the to your ancestors, not only the ancestors, but even to the devas as well. They have rituals in Hinduism, Buddhism, and some of the African religions where they take fruit or food or whatever, and they offer it to the Deva kingdom, and they let it sit there for a while, and then afterwards they eat it, and they make an oath that the energy they gain from that they will do good with. Same thing with if you offer money or whatever, and you go something. Don't destroy it.
were you able to hear that? It's kind of.
Am I? Were you all were able to hear me or no?
I hear you much better now. But
Okay. Yeah, the wrong practice is to destroy it. That's the mystics don't do that because we value all forms of energy, whereas solid energy or mental energy or emotional energy or or vital energy. So what we do, we offer that we offer the food, the money, or whatever for a limited time, and through our actions of offering that, we create a particular energy. And then after that time period is over with, we take that food and we feed the food to either us or someone who needs the food, and you make an oath to use that food to use the energy gained from that food for good. If it's money, then you take the money and you offer the money to someone who really needs the money to do well with the money, or you take the money and do something good with the money. So, but you don't just put it in a fire and burn it. So, but it's always a progressive move with the money in order to bring about the right reaction, because everything is a karmic reaction. So when you do something, there's an immediate effect from it. So if you have a resource that someone can use, then you don't destroy that resource. You offer that resource to the person. Life is built on us giving to each other in order to sustain our lives. The same way we breathe in oxygen from the trees, then we breathe out carbon dioxide, and the trees take the plant life take the carbon dioxide in order to produce oxygen back to us. The same way the whole ecological system work in the whole world and the universe. It's all, every action of everyone is to create a forward movement for all life. So no, I don't, to my knowledge, in my 50-some years, I never heard of burning that thing. You don't do that. I hope that answered the question.
So that question and your explanation on those rituals brought two other questions to my mind, or two other examples in my mind, and wanted to get a mystic interpretation behind. The first being the Lord's Supper ritual, where it states we eat of the flesh and drink of the blood of Christ. That's ritualistically or symbolically. What's the mystic interpretation or reasoning behind that?
That was eating of the knowledge and understanding, not the actual flesh. I mean, it's all of that is symbolic.
Right.
But you swear to walk a fine road by doing that. You don't necessarily you have to, it's just like when you bless your food, you before you eat any food, you should bless the food. And one of the ways the mystics bless the food is that they imagine a brilliant living white light or violet colored light coming down into the food and purify the food. And then they even use a mudra where they circle the plant the plate of food with the pointing finger. And when they do that, they imagine that any negative energy within that food is being swiped away, is being cut out of the energy that you just radiated the food with. and then once you do that, you eat the food. But in the prayer of when you're saying the prayer after you have did that, because you took a light down from the cosmos, from the absolute, you say, I sacrifice this food to God, and you make a pledge to use the energy of that food for all right, for all good things. So so you that helps curb your actions and your thoughts and your frame of mind. So the every ritual, every mystic ritual, or action, or let's say a series of kriya actions, or kriya movements or whatever, which is a sacred movement. You you do it in order to enhance life, not to tear down life.
Mhm. Does the blessing of the food and the radiating it with that white light, does it not change, but bring a more, or bring out a more sattvic quality of the food?
What you're doing is raising the vibrations of the food.
Right.
So when you do that, when you say that prayer to bless the food, then you raise the vibrations of the food in order to be able to eat the food.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing you'll notice, if you have 1 ounce of psychic power, you'll notice that there's a gray mist over all things around us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that gray mist is that residue of our negative actions, of our negative and good actions. But it is in between. It's not absolute good and not absolute bad, but it does weigh us down and affect us as we eat it and as we breathe it. So that's why, that's another reason for doing the spiritual practices, in order to propel that gray mist of negative energy from your aura, from your environment.
Mm-hmm. And the second practice that came to mind, following the same vein, and I believe for the same reasons you mentioned, was the blessing and eating of the prasad. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
by,
right. Yeah.
by Saint Guling in the 12 blessings. He didn't do it in all the 12 blessings, but he had it in several of them. I assume that was a karmic manipulation as well, not just for the channel, but for the, I don't remember if the attendees did it as well, the people who were attending, they participated in that.
Yeah, they did.
It did, okay.
The cake or the
Yeah.
prasad was given to them, remember?
Yes, okay. That's along the same reasons you were, well, I mean, that was a karmic relation, right?
Yeah, that was a mystic practice that of blessing that moment and that cake,
Mhm.
or that prasad, they say.
Do we have any other questions? Any comments? Again, you can feel free to pose your questions at any time throughout today's session. We'll answer those for you. So as the human flow section of chapter 8 goes into the human flow prana, talks about the nadi system, I wanted to review the nadic system and the chakra system before we go into that section, so we can have this illustration in mind. Then as we go through this final section of chapter 8, I'll come back to the handouts again, to other handouts. Specifically, there's 3 handouts in the collection of handouts, which goes into more detail about the nadis, and we'll look at that. Again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll get those answered for you. So this handout we looked at earlier in our open discussions sessions. You can find it in, if you're looking on YouTube, in the description, but also in the MeetUp invites and the email announcements. There is a link to our Google Drive shared folder. And I believe this handout is in the 2020 folder. Yeah, brief, and it's titled "A Brief Look at the Chakra System and Flow and the Pranic Flow, and the Flow of Prana." Okay, I wanted to look at the nadis, since that's what we're focusing on in this section. So the nadis are thin lines of force radiating from the dormant kundalini as separate flows of subtle energies called the Pingala nadis, the vital positive flow of energies, and the Ida nadis, a negative mental flow of energies. And prana, a universal life force that radiates throughout creation, mainly through various solar logos or suns. This all-pervasive subtle energies has, sorry, I don't think you guys can see that. This all-pervasive subtle energies has a cosmic level, we looked at, beginning of chapter 8, a solar level, planetary level, which we looked at last week, and we'll look at this level, a human level of operation. The prana we use in the solar system comes from our mighty sun, the release of a creative sonic vibration, nada, that delivers the pranas to the planets and its life form. Okay, so this should all be familiar. So I'm kind of going to go through it rather quickly. So in this human flow section, we look at, remember, it's all one energy, and as this energy reaches different level or different stages, we attribute it with different names to describe the qualities of that energy. And so now we're looking at this energy as it, when it gets to the human level, because we looked at the cosmic, and we looked at the solar, and we looked at terrestrial. So that when an energy is released from the absolute and on a universal scale, that energy has has specific qualities that we refer to. Then it gets to the solar system, right? What we just talked about, when the energy gets to the sun, it is manipulated and propagated back out throughout the solar system, and then it reaches the planet. That's a terrestrial level. On our planet, the Mother Earth, takes that energy, conditions it, and it releases it back out to all the life streams upon all the realms of the Earth. And then it gets to us at the human level. And so that's what we're looking at today. We looked at we will look at more detail, and I mentioned in the couple lines earlier, of the 3 major nadic flows, being the Ida, a mental flow of energies or negative flow of energies, the Pingala, the vital or positive flow of energies, and then Pingala is Pingala is represented as the red crisscrossing channel that intersects the major centers. And then Ida, represented here as the dark blue or navy, I guess you call it, it's called dark blue, as the mental flow. And then the combination of the two plus the neutral flow is Sushumna, which is this kind of lighter blue channel going up the center of all the centers. Sushumna, the point where the original Shakti power falls down and becomes Kundalini. It's also where the Kundalini under conscious control raises through and becomes one with the all knowledge space at every level. Level meaning the chakras here. All right. So let's keep that in mind as a review. This human flow of prana in chapter 8, as well as the major pranic flows. Right, because we're going to talk about the 5 major and go into a bit of a description of the 5 minor. So Nehemiah in the text identifies both the major and the minor flows of prana and describes their flow throughout the auric structure. So I wanted to come back to this handout again and to give you an illustration of that pranic flow. So let's just read this really quick. As we're looking at this diagram here on the right-hand side, we have Udana. This subtle flow of energies travels through the extremities, the head, the arms, and legs. And you can kind of see that depicted here. You have in the head, this dark blue Udana flow in the arms, in the legs, and in the head. And then you have the prana, which is depicted here as green, a flow of energy that goes down from the heart, so here's the heart center, goes down from the heart chakra towards the base chakra and then back to the heart. So it goes down the heart to the base and then back up to the heart again. Samana in yellow. This subtle flow of energies operates from the solar plexus, a conjunction point of all pranas. And then Vyana, I guess orange? Vyana, a flow of energies travels from the sex chakra throughout the entire body. You can see that here. And then Apana, red, depicted as red, is a flow of energies that travels from the base of the spine chakra up to the heart chakra and back to the base of the spine chakra, okay? So keep that in mind because we'll also go into, in the text, we'll look at the, not only the flows of prana and the notic system, but the organs that correspond to the functions of that center. So you have the chakra, which is the subtle functioning of it, and then the physical organs, which act as the gross manifestation or operation of the function of those chakras. So we'll look at that in the text as well. Did you want to add something, Nehemiah? Okay.
You said something?
I was asking if you wanted to add something, because I noticed you had unmuted yourself. So do you want to? No? Okay.
No, I don't need that.
All right, so if you have any comments, questions before I move into the actual text. Again, I'll be reading from or pulling from the Kindle version. But when we get to some tables and some charts, illustrations, switch over to the PDF version so we can view the table better, because I think there's 1 or 2 tables that I wanted to look at. One table specifically talking about the pranas and the flows of those pranas. But do you have any questions or comments? If not, then let's jump right into it. Now, I did make quite a bit of highlights in this section because all of it, I feel, is key to understanding this subject on the human flow of prana. So, forgive me for all the highlights we made. But I think you'll appreciate the information and we can gain a lot from it. So the human flow of prana can be described as the nadi system. The nadi system can be described as subtler lines of force that is the background of all manifested consciousness. These nadic lines of force are the positive and negative flows of pranas. The word nadi has the root Sanskrit word nad, which means to move or flow. The positive vital flow of prana travels on the right side of the spinal column and carries the name of Pingala nadis. The negative mental flow of pranas travels on the left side of the spinal column and carries the name of Ida nadis. As these Pingala and Ida nadis intersect, a level of consciousness is possible for expression. These nadis number up to 238,000 nadis, with about 10,100 branches that extend even further. Later on in the text, Nehemiah goes into a breakdown of those numbers. Like those aren't just arbitrary numbers; those are actual numbers applying to the nadis, and he'll show how we derive those numbers, like get to those numbers. So I made that highlight out. I told myself I wanted to point that out here because I think it really helps to understand the function of these nadis, the movement of the energies through them, and the efficacy and power behind these spiritual practices in that when we cleanse and purify these nadic pathways, how that increased flow of prana or energy that moves through them helps to bring about proper psychic and spiritual development. All right. The Pingala nadis also can be said to represent the arteries, the positive flow of blood charged with oxygen. The Ida nadis can also be said to represent the veins, the negative flow of blood charged with carbon dioxide. Right, so keep in mind, your anatomy and physiology classes, because I believe in this text, Nehemiah does a good job of correlating the two, right? We may not be familiar with the anatomy of the aura and subtle bodies, but many of us, at least here are very familiar with the anatomy of the physical body, gross physical body. So in drawing that parallel and showing how the functions of the physical body correspond to the function of the subtle bodies and the nadic system, it can better help us to understand. So keep in mind, as he represents here many times in the text, our anatomy in the gross physical structure, and also keep in mind the different subtle bodies, the astral etheric bodies, as well as the auric structure as a whole. The sun aspect of both the Pingala nadis and Ida nadis working with the blood vessels, the moon rays reflected from the sun, represent Sushumna, the nervous system. The prana may move either way, right or left, under certain conditions, or under certain conditions, both ways. An aspect of Sushumna is also that place where the prana changes from right to left and from the left to right. On the physical level, it's both the spinal column and cardiac canal. In Sanskrit terms, it's called Brahmananda. When the 5 major pranas or mahabhutas enter the body, it is identified with different names and functions. Right, so it's still the same energy, but when it, as I mentioned earlier, as it reaches different levels, different names are attributed as different aspects of that energy are pronounced or utilized by the particular level of evolution. So at our level, this table 10 identifies what those major pranas or mahabhutas are described and their functions. So let me go to table 10 in the book, and we'll take a look at these major pranas, minor pranas, and their functions. So I mentioned earlier, when we looked at the handout, we looked at the 5 majors. But here in the text, it goes even further and identifies the minor pranas as well. So first we have a prana, color yellow. This location is the Anahata or heart chakra. And its region is the chest center. Its function is respiration. And its subprana or minor prana is Naga, which I'm showing you right now, an active instance of belching or hiccup. Excuse me. And we have Apana, which is an orange or red color located at the Muladhara chakra. And its region is the anus. And its discharge of urine and feces, and its subprana or minor prana is Kurma and performs the function of opening the eyes. Then we have Samana. Its color is green. Its region is the Manipura chakra or the navel, and its function is digestion. And its minor prana is Krikara, which induces hunger and thirst. Then we have Udana, which is a violet or blue color. Its region is the Vishuddha chakra, or the throat center. And its function is deglution. Takes the jiva to Brahma in sleep. Separates the physical body from the astral body at death, and its minor prana is Devadatta, which is the function of yawning. And we have Vijnana. It has a rose color in the Svadhisthana chakra. And it is located throughout the entire body on this function, the circulation of blood. And its minor prana that it identifies as Dahan Anchaya, and it causes decomposition of the body. The solar plexus chakra is the storehouse of prana or cosmic energies. It is the conjunction point of prana. The conjunction points of the major pranas at this chakra is the flow of prana and the flow of apana. The first major flow pranas travels up and down between the solar plexus chakra and the throat chakra continuously. The second major flow of prana, apana, travels down from the solar plexus chakra to the base of spine chakra and back to the solar plexus chakra continuously. As the first major prana ascends toward the throat chakra from the solar plexus, the second major prana, apana, moves from the base of the spine chakra to the solar plexus chakra. When the prana falls from the throat chakra back to the solar plexus chakra, the apana flow of prana falls back to the base of the spine chakra. So in other words, these two pranic flows move in concert and thereby never actually meet. And in the next few sentences, it's explained why and what happens when those forces are united. In basic man, the karmic pressures don't allow these two pranic forces to completely join together. Now, when man has purified the nadi pathways that carry the prana and apana energies, a balancing of these pranic forces is karmically allowed. Then the combined forces activates the Manipura chakra and accentuates the powers of the chakra, giving man the ability to operate on higher levels of consciousness. All right. I didn't highlight that, but I'm going to read it anyway because the next section talks about how we accomplish this. The next few lines. Is in the practice of pranayama, one of the major goals is to balance the two major pranas through the control of rhythmic breathing, which encompasses an even flow of inhalation and exhalation of breath and measured retention of breath with the incorporation of concentration and visualization. So if you've been utilizing the pranayama practices given by Dr. George King in the Contact Your Higher Self Through Yoga, are also given in the text Realize Your Inner Potential. See, the first breathing that you're taught is rhythmic breathing, and that we are taught to inhale and exhale of equal measure. And if you remember in other classes, in pranayama classes that Nimai has given in the past, as well as in the text Science of Breath, Program Charaka, we're taught the complete breath, which is utilizing the lungs and the diaphragm completely with the inhalation and the exhalation. And also Nehemiah taught us that the complete breath is, plus the rhythmic breathing, is how we are supposed to breathe all the time. But as he mentioned here, in our pranayama practice, particularly in the measured, how's it say again? Complete control of rhythmic breathing, that is the first step, as well as other pranayama practice in purifying the nadis and bringing about a balancing of these two pranic flows. He goes on further to say the control of prana and apana helps to gain control over the other three major pranas, which are samana, udana, and vyana. Samana is a major prana that is mainly concentrated in the navel area. The udana major prana is concentrated in the throat area. The vyana major prana is located throughout the entire body. So again, we looked at this in the handout earlier, looking at the flows of prana and in the nadis. Let's see, do we have any questions or comments? Okay. If not, let's continue on. The soul pulls in the 5 major pranas, topic modifications, and subdivides them into 36,000 pairs, creating the Pingala nadis and Ida nadis that equal 72,000 nadis of thin tube-like lines of force and pushes them through the solar plexus center, Manipura chakra, and then branches off into 10,100 branches. These branches move into all directions, identifying over 100 major, minor, and minute chakras, vortex portals into the soul's essence, the Bindu. As these nadis branches off, they expand and become smaller nadis and greater in numbers until it reaches over 200,000 nadis. The 5 major tattvas, modes of sonic motions of prana, modifies into what is called 5 major pranas, which are prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. Then these modified pranas modify themselves again, creating 5 additional pranas that operate on the negative pranic level, which gives the nadis and its power over gross manifestation. Right, so here, Nehemiah describes these pranas and where these numbers come from, right, which they're not arbitrary. These numbers are the actual dividing of those major pranas, those tattvic modifications, as they move throughout the auric structure and identify the major, minor, and minute chakras. All right, and so here I wanted to go into the diagrams that illustrate the nadis so we can get a greater understanding of information and use that as we look further into this human flow of prana section. Now, this set of handouts are not in the Google Drive folder, but they are part of the collection of classroom diagrams that all of which Nehemiah had illustrated and created. And he compiled them into a single volume that I don't think, I know they're not on the website, but if you like, if you people like, if anyone would like that, I can put these up, these nadi those diagrams in the shared folder. And if you'd like more information about the collection, you can send us an email and we'll forward information to you. Let's take a look at the 14 major named nadis within the body. As well as some of the major nadis within the head region. So we have 3 nadis. The first 3 are the chief major nadis, right, ID, and then the remaining 11 are also major nadis. So we have, let me zoom in here so you can see it easier. Sushumna, located in the central. Okay, Mystic, I see your comment. I will upload these diagrams to the shared folder. I may make a separate folder for it, but they should be up by Monday. Sushumna, located in the central area of the spinal cord, a tiny hollow canal within the spinal cord that extends from the base of spine up to the crown chakra. In this Sushumna Nadi, the Ida and Pingala Nadi forces travel together as one energy in one direction. Within the Sushumna, you have the Vajrayini Nadi, Chitrini Nadi, and the Brahma Nadi. Actually, there is a diagram, and I apologize for not having it up, where Nehemiah actually goes into great detail of the Sushumna Nadi illustrates and identifies the layers of it. I don't have it queued up right now, and I apologize for that. I think maybe next open discussion, I will go back and look at it and identify that to better help understanding this particular nadi, because the Sushumna nadi is very important, especially in the raising of Kundalini. We get many questions on how do we activate and cleanse the chakras. So a better understanding of Sushumna and in the full raising of Kundalini will help us better understand that process. Moving on, Ida is located on the left sympathetic chain, stretching from under the left nostril to below the left kidney in the form of a bent bow. This is the negative force of nadis, which represents the female force within the nadis. 3 Pingala, located on the corresponding chain on the right side. This is the positive force of nadis, which represents the male force within the nadis. Okay, so those are the 3 chief major nadis. Now we move into the other major nadic flows. Ganhari, number 4, is located on the back of the left sympathetic chain. It is supposed to stretch from below the left eye to the left leg. Number 5, Hasti Jiva, located on the front of the left sympathetic chain, stretching from below the corner of the left eye to the great or the big toe of the left foot on the same supposition as before. Number 6, we have the Yash, please forgive my terrible pronunciations, these Sanskrit words. Yashasvini, located in the front of the right sympathetic chain, stretching from the right thumb to the left leg. Number 7, Pusha, located at the back of the right sympathetic chain, stretching from the corner of the right eye to the abdomen. Number 8, Alambusha, located in the coccygeal nerves, proceeding from the sacred vertebrae to the urogenital organs. Sacral. And then number 9, Kuhu, the pubic nerve of the sacral plexus to the left of the spinal cord. Number 10, Shankhini, located between the Ganhari and the Sarasvati and articular branch of the cervical plexus on the left. Number 11, Sarasvati is located on the right of Sushumna, stretching up to the tongue. Number 12, Payasvini, located between the Pusa and the Sarasvati articular branch of the cervical plexus on the left. Number 13, Varuna, located at the nerves of the sacral plexus between Kuhu and Yasavini, ramifying over the lower trunk and limbs. And then 14, Vishvodhara, located at the nerves of the lumbar plexus between Kuhu and Hasti Jiva, ramifying over the lower trunk and limbs. And then here on the right-hand side, we have an illustration showing the nerves, glands, and their corresponding nadis. Okay, we're running short on time, so let me not read that. but I'll upload this so you can look at it later. And then again, we have another illustration of the nadis and the corresponding senses. So as we looked at earlier, the right eye, Pingala nadis, left eye, the Ida nadis, and the Christ Ajna chakra in the center there. And is very hard to see, but in the very center is the Ajna chakra with an upward triangle and a line coming from it, or going downwards. Then on the right ear and the left ear, we have the Pingala nadis and the Ida nadis respectively. The right nostril and left nostril, the Ida and Pingala, sorry, the Pingala nadis and the Ida nadis respectively. They move to the mouth, where we have the Sushumna, Pingala, Ida nadis, and Kundalini power. More detail below. And then in the throat chakra there, the Shuddha chakra, and then that central line being the Sushumna nadi. We have and then more detail on the mouth. The top lip represents the power of Shiva's stillness in creation. The tongue represents Nada power that flows from Kundalini, and the bottom lip represents Shakti power, its motion, movement of action. Right, remember the Shakti coming from the Shiva. Shiva is the stillness, and Shakti action. Now let's look at the corresponding organs. The nose, the physical sense of smelling, and the psychic sense of astral and physical smelling, and the advanced or the etheric counterpart of the senses, the etheric and physical smelling, and its associated chakra is the Muladhara, the base. The tongue, its physical senses is physical taste, as also on the psychic side, basic psychic senses is the astral and physical taste, and the advanced is the etheric counterpart of that physical taste, and its associated center is the Svadhisthana chakra. Right, so this is all the senses like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and so forth. And then for eyes, physical sight, its associated center is the Manipura chakra, solar plexus center. The skin is physical touch, and its associated center is the Anahanta, or the heart center. And the ears, physical hearing, and its associated center is the Vishuddha chakra, or throat center. There's one more I wanted to go into. The nadi system and the human flow of prana. The soul pulls in the 5 major pranas, tattvic modifications, and subdivides them into 36,000 pairs, right? Creating the Pingala Ida nadis that equals 72,000 nadis of thin tube-like lines of force, and pushes them through the solar plexus center, okay? The Manipura chakra, and then branches off into 10,100 branches, right? So we looked. This is again an illustration of what we just looked at in the text. And you can kind of see here this illustration of the nadis on the left-hand side. And I want you to notice here that each nadi is named. We're not going to go into all those names today, but so you can give this illustration kind of shows how the nadis work their way through the auric structure and how they intersect at the major, minor, and minute centers. And we have the chakras listed from top to bottom and their respective numbers of petals. And also as well, we have another illustration here on the right-hand side of the centers and if you noticed here, let me zoom in a little bit. Additional information is given of the centers. I won't go into it right now. Let's go back to the text, and then we'll come back to this illustration and get more questions and ask some questions and get more information about it. Okay, just pause there and let's go back to the text. So now we're going to go into more detail, or continuing to go into detail about the reflection of the functions of the physical organs as they correspond to the movement of this energy in the human aura. So let's first look at the brain. The brain absorbs the mental substance of this modified prana in several ways. The brain acts as a magnetic force over prana and mind substance, attracting this mental energy from the surrounding atmosphere and mind belt of Mother Earth. It also acts as a magnetic electronic instrument within the physical body and its subtler counterparts, where it regulates the mental energies through the physical nervous system and the nadic system, which is considered the subtler nervous system. So you'll recall Dr. George King and Nehemiah referring in other classes, referring to the brain as a receiving set that receives and transmits mind energy of various qualities, as mentioned here, from the mind belt of the Mother Earth. And one of the reasons why the study of the teachings is so stressed and important in our spiritual development is this exact reason right here, right? So as we study and digest the teachings, it's not only for our academic pursuits or to our intellectual pursuits, but it is so that we can fine tune, part of the reason is to fine tune our mental apparatus, our brain, to be able to tune into these higher emanations of the mind belt, to turn into this higher thought stream, right? Enabling us to better pull down these types of thoughts or energies from the mind belt and thereby influence both our thoughts, words, and our actions, right? It also acts as a magnetic instrument within the physical body and its subtler counterparts, which regulates the mental energies through the physical nervous system and the nodic system, which is considered the subtler nervous system, right? And that mental energy we looked at is what? That Ida flow. And so as we tune into these higher mental energy vibrations, we propagate it throughout the entire physical nervous system and nodic system in kind. The nadi systems lays out the pathways of the cerebra, spinal cord, and its nervous systems, which is a partially physical aspect of its manifestation. The nadi system also could be considered the immediate subtler background power for the cerebral spinal cord and its nervous system. All right, keep that in mind. The subtler background power of not just the nadi system, but when we're looking at the human flow, that this idea is, Nehemiah brings this up several times because it's to kind of drill it into our minds and just to understand this concept better. That this nodic system is also could be considered an immediate subtler background power. The voice box is also another physical organ that has an ability of translating mental modified cosmic energies into gross modified energies that expresses itself in various levels of sonic vibrations. It also transmits various forms of modified sonic cosmic energies, prana, into the gross physical subtler realms of Earth. All right, so this also correlates. If you look back at previous classes where Nehemiah has talked about the anatomy and function of the chakra system, so the throat chakra also produces this function, but revealed here as well is the power of words, right? Because again, the voice box has the ability of translating mental modified cosmic energies into gross modified energies. It manifests thought into physical word and action. So it's a very important function of the voice box. And you also see the power of both spoken and whispered mantra. And so again, this text is on the science of mantra, the ancient language of the soul. So it all comes together. Next, we look at another two physical organs that manifest the power of the subtler pranic force modified as sonic vibration and a gaseous substance called oxygen carbon dioxide is the heart and lungs. All right. So these two blue highlights mean I'm highlighting the entire page. So again, forgive me. The heart and lung share in the responsibility of distributing subtle and gross cosmic energies throughout the physical body, mental body, and subtler bodies. All right, keep that in mind. The heart pumps the oxygenated blood into the circulatory system that operates the artery system that circulates it throughout the entire body. All right, so that's the physical that we know. The heart also pumps blood and carries waste product called carbon dioxide, out of the circulatory system that operates the venous system into the lungs for existence. All right, and so now we got the physical illustration. Now let's look at the subtle. The pumping action that the heart uses is a sonic vibrational force, which is another form of modified prana. The physical heart controls and sustains the life within the physical body with its sonic beats, with its sound vibration, with its mantra. The mystic heart, which is located 6 inches in front of the breastbone within the etheric body, also sustains life within the etheric and subtler bodies with hundreds of various sonic vibrational signatures that the adept describes as 1,000 bells ringing when the adept raises Kundalini to the heart center, Anahata chakra, in a deep state of meditation. All right, so those of us who utilize the prayer technique as taught by Dr. George King, you can see here what I'm going to say, not example, but one of the reasons why we utilize the mystic heart in the projection of the prayer energies and sustaining that energy out as we send it out towards its respective target. This peal of bells within the Anahata chakra is also the subtler configurations behind the lungs and respiratory system. So again, the subtler configuration, the subtler power behind the physical functioning of the physical organs. Within the human makeup, the spirit releases the word and manifests the soul. And then soul releases the word and it creates vortex portals to the essence of itself. Then these vortex portals releases the word to assist the soul in creating the nadic system. In the formation of the nadic system, the vortex portals or chakras are further defined by this nadic system, as the nadis define its positive pranic flow, Pingala nadis, and the negative pranic flow, Ida nadis, as it intersects these opposite forces and creates man's three major states of consciousness: superconscious mind, subconscious mind, and conscious mind. This subtler sonic vibration sound is a carrying agent for the sustaining vital life force prana throughout the whole body. If you remember back to the 14 lessons, those first 4 chapters, we looked at the 7 principles. So keep those 7 principles in mind as we look at this paragraph we just read, referring to the 3 major states of consciousness and how those consciousness are formed by the intersecting of the nadis. How much more do I have? Oh, almost done. The next set of major physical organs that is influenced by the solar plexus chakra is the stomach, small intestines, large intestines, the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, the kidneys, and the gallbladder. All of the organs mentioned above share some type of responsibility of storing, processing, and distributing raw energy throughout the physical body. The solar plexus chakra, Manipura chakra, is a subtler configuration behind these organs. See, again, this idea is driven home. And its main function is to store cosmic energy within the etheric and subtler bodies to bring about gross manifestation. All right, so remember the prana, the dominating prana that's at the solar plexus, and its function. The function of the solar plexus chakra, the Manipura chakra, and as well the corresponding function of those organs identified. Next, we move to the subtle influence over the internal organs is the Svadhisthana chakra that gives subtle energies to male and female sexual organs. It sustains life, initiates life, and manifests life on this gross physical plane of existence. And finally, the final major chakra that we will address in reference to the human body is the Muladhara chakra, located at the base of the spine. This chakra gives power over the lower chakras that are never mentioned in reference to man's existence because it's the chakras of the chakras that the animal kingdom has to control. This chakra initiates consciousness. It is here where the spinal column begins, which gives a free flow to thought waves that use the spinal column as its superhighway to manifest this mental and vital energies as audible, coherent sound language, and intelligent functional movement of consciousness and unconscious movement, voluntary, involuntary movement. Excuse me, in the ancient tantric doctrines, the Muladhara chakra is noted to have the power of gross existence. It's that realm that brings about a division of time, kala, past, present, and future. With this division of time came a division of the great Shakti consciousness from one to the many, which created two major flows of energy with the static quality of power and dynamic quality of power. So in the top half of that page we just read, again, should bring to mind the 7 principles. There's also a handout that Nehemiah created, which identifies some of the centers and flows in the leg region. So for those that were curious, the chakras that correspond to the animal kingdom. I apologize, I don't remember exactly which class it was where he presented those, but if you look back, some for open discussions, I display that diagram. I think we're looking at a Constitution of Man. It might be in the Mystic Constitution of Man playlist. You can look back at that. Now here also I wanted to bring attention to the Kala, past, present, and future. If you look at some classes where Nehemiah goes into very detail about the Kundalini, particularly the 3.5, is it 2.5, 3.5 knot? Yeah, 3.5 knot. He talks about what each of those loopings mean. And he alludes to it here in the text, but if you go back on those classes and look at those handouts, you'll get more information about that. Was there anything you want to add, Nehemiah?
No, there's a diagram in this book where I go into that. So if they have the book, they can scan through it and they will see the 3.5 knots.
Yes, that's right. It is in here, yeah. If there's any questions or comments? Yes, Mystic, there's quite a lot of information here, which is why I really wanted to both do a reading of the text and a more in-depth study of the text. But this is just, scratching the surface. I really invite everyone to pick up a copy of the text, read it once, read it again, read it a third time, and then go back and actually study it, because you'll get a lot of information is packed into each chapter, into each page, into each paragraph. And so this is just barely scratching the surface. Then throughout the years, go back and read it again, and more information revealed to you. I think this is like my 3rd or 4th pass through the book, and I'm blown away every time. This static flow of power that's divided at this Muladhara chakra possesses a mental nature that permeates the flow of cosmic energies called the Ida Nadis. This dynamic flow of power that's divided at the Muladhara, traveling in the right direction, possesses a vital life force of nature that permeates the flow of cosmic energies called the Pingala Nadis. The nadis describe the type of energy flow, the quality of sabda, specific sound, power, and the directional flow of cosmic energies. The left and right flow of energies brings about a series of forces that aid in creating gross manifestation. Right. Thus completes our review of chapter 8. Next, we will look at a two-part breakdown of the chakra system. Part 1 being chapter 9, and then part 2 being chapter 10, and then moving on forward. But I think we'll spend a couple of sessions on chapter 9, and then we'll spend a couple of sessions on chapter 10, 12, and so on. Do we have any questions or comments? I wanted to take a look at this illustration. Nimai, this illustration here, these are the different chakras, right?
Yeah. Those are the head chakras.
So Indus, Mana, and so Nirvana is a chakra or realm, or it's a realm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But they it's a portal, so it's a chakra as well. It's like remember, it's like 900, which they call it the
thousand lotus, thousand petal lotus. Yeah.
So, but within the crown chakra, you have many other chakras that make up that one chakra. I think there's at least 12 named chakras that's given out to the public.
And so this crown aspect of the
something too.
I'm sorry?
I think I emailed you. I don't know if I think it's more up to date than this.
Okay.
You see your email?
I have it open here. Oh. I didn't even notice these came in. Thank you. Remember this handouts? Oh, okay. Well, these would have been better. All right, let me. Okay, so next class, I will. How much time do we have? We have 10 minutes. Okay, so let me throw these up really quick, and then next time we'll go into more detail. Sorry about that, Nima. I didn't realize these emails had come in. This one is down the same thing twice. Senses, that's what I want. Okay, so here is a table breaking down the 10 yogi senses. And yeah, we did do, I remember now, there was a class several classes, in fact, where Nimai goes into this. But unfortunately, the thought did not occur to me to go into this, and I apologize for that. So next time, we'll take a look at these, at the 10 senses, all 10 senses, and we will also go into more detail of the chakra system, as well as, yes, this was the diagram I remembered, where we take a look at the Sushumna Nadi and it breaks it down. And there's even another one where it's, I think it's a more recent one where it's in color, but this will suffice. This will do a wonderful job, actually, and help us to get better understanding of the Sushumna Nadic flow, the layers of Sushumna. And here we see again the Kundalini 3.5 knot. We'll go into more information about that next time. Yes, and so with that, we'll be better prepared to go into our study of chapter 9, the chakra system. So are there any further questions or comments? Yeah, these handouts should be familiar to everyone because we've gone over these quite a bit. If there are no further questions, then let us close out with reciting of the New Lord's Prayer, given by the Master Jesus through the mediumship of Dr. George King. Here it is. All right. Let us adopt the prayer mudra, and in intention of giving thanks for the knowledge and information we are able to study together, let us recite the New Lord's Prayer. New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, O mighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In the praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance, your attention, your questions, and your comments. Please do remember to pick up a copy of the text, as is our first textbook written by our teacher. We will continue studying from it for years to come, and I look forward to reviewing that text with all of you many, many years in the future. Again, our Friday study sessions are still ongoing. We are reading 14 Lessons of Yogi Philosophy by Yogi Ramacharaka. You're more than welcome to attend those or go back and view those videos. You can also download that text and other texts as well as we slowly work our way through the library on the National Mystic Knowledge Center website. So Bob, no, we do not have the mantras on our website. You can go to the Aether Society website, to their e-store, and pick up the Mantra Initiation album. Actually, while I have you here, let me go directly to it and show you where you can pick that up. Let me pause this and just give me a few more minutes. Let's go to aetherius.org and under shop. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I think it's under yoga and enlightenment, right? Yes. You can see on your screen, if you go to the aetherius.org website and under the shop link and audio on CD, if you click on yoga and enlightenment and scroll down, I mean, they're all wonderful lectures, but the one particularly looking for is the Initiation into Dynamic and Soul Mantra. You can order it by CD, or you can also available as audio downloads. You can get, I don't know if they're MP3 files, but digital audio files. And you'll be initiated into several mantras, dynamic and soul mantra, including mantras created by Dr. George King himself. So you're welcome to pick up that. Why is my screen sharing so paused? Sorry about that. You should see it now. Okay, yes. So here is the Aether Society website under shop and yoga enlightenment. If you scroll down, you'll see Initiation into Dynamic and Soul Mantra, and this is the album you can pick up. It's also available as audio download. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful week.